Hey baes! This is my first tutorial. I hope my directions and way of doing things suit you or are easy to follow. I'm using two programs, Procreate on iPad and Photoshop CS6 on my PC. I'm going to use Untitled Chapter 48. You baes asked the canvas size I use. This size is my current default. It'll change over time because change is the only thing permanent in this world. So I went to Actions and clicked Crop and Resize. A pop-up at the top will quickly show the layers available. In this chapter, my canvas size is 1500 by 16,300 pixels. The layers are relative to the canvas size. The bigger the canvas, the lesser the layers you can make. So there's a limit canvas size in Procreate, and reopening files will take longer to load, and saving it will have a tendency to be unsuccessful or crash because of the size. Keep those things in mind. As you can see in the layers, it's fairly minimal because I tend to merge down, which is risky. If you forget something, then you'll have to do it again. But I've developed some kind of a routine, so forgetting to add something is rare. For BOD, I keep my style simple for efficiency since this isn't my work, so it shouldn't take most of my time, even though it does. Just something to support me in college, which I'm very grateful of. The canvas size might be longer than the usual update. That's because I'm gonna slice it in half later. I have to keep in mind that in between updates, I either work on my personal or academic life or tend to my patrons and other stuff. I need to plan in advance. While I'm busying myself, I'm not neglecting the Webtoon and baes with my temporary death. So, you've done your sketch, and let's talk about the panels. Procreate lacks certain tools to make making comics easier. Procreate isn't designed to make comics. It was mainly designed to make simple or professional illustrations. Doesn't mean you can't make comics though. I mean, I make comics. Just not as, like programs which are intended for making comics. Comics are illustrations. Yeah, there are certain popular drawing programs like Webtoon Paint. The tools lacking for efficiency is the shape tool, which I used in CSP when I was still working on early episodes. I use it to make the panels and such. Procreate, you have to manually draw it. You can either draw and hold to make a straight line, tap on one finger to align it so it's straight, despite being a BL comic. It can also snap to various degrees or ask for drawing guide Kun's help. So, duraming guide kun wa Wibushit really makes your life easier somehow. It can make you straight by guiding you with these various options. It can make you straight. Just kidding. I use the 2D grid, thickness of the lines, opacity of the lines. You can change the guide color right here. The grid size I measured down to that size. And don't forget to turn on the assisted drawing so you won't have to waste time doing something similar but time consuming later. Behold this layer. It has assisted on it. This means that the drawing assist is applied to this layer. You can utilize the drawing guide if this shows on that specific layer. If not, you won't get those straight lines in your gay comic. Duh! If ever you forget to turn it on in advance, like me, you can manually do so by clicking the layer and drawing assist. Voila! Assisted! Assist! Drawing assists! Okay, I'm high. On with the line art. The one thing I don't like. Haha. I use the drying pen for my line art because it feels natural for me. I don't really like the full thickness of others like gel pen or studio pen. Now on to the speech bubbles. How do you make speech bubbles? There are 3 simple ways to do it. If you draw and hold, this pesky thing will show up and you have to erase it. So I don't use this if it's a professional work, but BOD ain't a pro work and I still don't use it because I don't prefer it. The text font I used is already in Procreate. I found similar to CC Astro City, which is Jack Armstrong BB. Ooh, no ooh. Size relative to the canvas size because everything is in pixels. However, this one is in points. One thing about adding text is not to make it cramped inside the bubbles. I tend to use this if the text is too long or it compromises the spaces needed for pause per panel, or I just minimize the text size so it won't appear to be overwhelming for the speech bubble. The right side looks suffocated, but if you prefer that, go ahead. Miss your comic. The third one I forgot about is to swirl it around. Looks cool, but not for VOD style. Now, how do I do that dang shadow thingy? I duplicate the layer, alpha lock the lower layer, I use a darker color, and I misalign that layer from the upper layer. Last on the layers list is the sound effects. This is easy and fun to do for me. Another tool that Procreate doesn't have is the increment tool. It's the tool that subtracts spaces from the image by adding certain points. It's very useful for having bold outer layers to outline the shape. I did some trial and error with VOD, so I don't know which capture it is, but it had a certain style change. I used my own font. I made this myself using a website, so if you want me to make another tutorial about making your own font, you know the drill. I did the misalign at first, but it just didn't outline the edges of the whole text. So this time, I did this. Duplicate layer, blur the lower layer, duplicate the blurred lower layer, and the duplicate blurred lower layer is set to multiply. Comics sound effects are slanted. I use this to do that. Uniform holds the form of the image while you can resize or rotate it. Distort tool, well, distorts it. It reforms the image using the edge points to make the sides longer, smaller, whatever. Warp tool, total reforming tool, doesn't only have edge points but inner points as well, so you can mess up the insides. That's it for the Procreate part. We're now in my PC. I just changed the background. So cute. I'm using the same chapter in VOD, by the way. My Procreate saves the image as sRGB, so whenever I open it in Photoshop, asks if I should change the color profile to CMYK, which messes up the colors and it looks like shit. So I click discard and move on. Changing the canvas size. Webtoon has a max of 800 by 1280 pixels per canvas. This time I only change the width to 800 and the height will change relatively. Take note of the height measurement and make sure the resolution is in 300 dpi. Go to the select tool, right click and change to slice tool or slice select tool. You can use either because it's basically the same but different when selecting the canvas. Slice tool is you need to drag and select the image or a certain part of the image. Slice select tool selects the entire image canvas, so it's time efficient in this case. Right click on the image and click divide slice. The longer the size, the longer it'll take to load, so it's best to opt with the lesser size. Take note of Webtoon's max images or MB per episode though. If you divide vertically, this happens. Obviously. The slices are done and all you need to do is save it. I used the combo Alt-Shift-Control-S. Make sure this pop-up window appears. See if it's in JPEG and not in GIF. It does that sometimes. Maximum quality to 100 and leave the rest as is. Do not click other than save. Or you can do an alternative way. Go to File, Save for Web. Same process from this point on. By the way, if you just do Ctrl-S, it will not save per slices, but as a whole, no changes. Once saved, default folder name is Images. You need to change this first before moving on to slice up another canvas and saving it. If you don't, history will repeat itself to another person. Don't repeat my suffering, it's not funny. I saved another one without renaming the folder. First time I did this, I saved a bunch and I wasted a lot of time, unfortunately. But fortunately, it still has its original name, so it was quite orderly, unlike that other time. Okay, the tutorial has ended. I hope it was easy to follow. Thank you to my lovely patron base for pledging in June to help me donate to Black Lives Matters.car.co. All receipts available to view in BOD or my Insta highlight. Check out my Gumroad for previous sinful rewards, Redbubble for new BOD designs, and Fugo KG designs. More to come. Commissions are still open both on my website for rendered commissions and Ko-fi for sketch, line arts, etc. I greatly appreciate the support. With love, my baes. Bye bye.